Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us from wherever you're watching in Africa, Nairobi, Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, and anywhere else. And welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa, a big day for Kenya, I would say that. One, because we have Fanya Mambo with us, and I think I will add the name to you, Prophet.
Political prophet.
Yeah.
I mean, not prophesize on many other things, but on politics, yes.
How does it feel that you prophesied we were seated here a few weeks ago and he said that Rigathi would be impeached. And for those not familiar, Rigathi is the Kenyan Deputy President who was impeached by the National Assembly yesterday night.
You see, first you need to understand the character of the person who is the President of the Republic of Kenya. One, he doesn't start something he doesn't intend to finish, other than, of course, development projects. And two, he's very unforgiving. So when you have a problem with him, he takes the battle to you until he finishes. And so, yes, Rigathi Gachagua is unfortunate for you, but he has been impeached by the National Assembly. He stands a chance at Senate. They will impeach him again. So that's where he is at. And I wish he took my advice, but I think he still has a window, because I had told him, when Senate is just about to vote, resign. Otherwise, when you're impeached, technically, you cannot hold public office for the next 10 years.
And you know, the most interesting thing I've found is that the National Assembly sat in the whole day yesterday. The voting was done at around some minutes to 9 p.m. Today morning, 9:30, Senate is sitting for the same. The efficiency with which this thing is happening, vis-a-vis the efficiency we've been demanding as citizens in terms of service delivery, is wanting. Why is that difference?
Interesting. I think first and foremost, the saddest thing about the whole idea is the fact that when they wanted to impeach the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, they were able to organize public participation very quickly, in fact, within a very short span, across the whole country. But somehow for Adani, they forgot. For Chief, they forgot. They didn't remember. They forgot to do public participation, even in one ward. Because 230 billion going into a Adani deal for the airport is not important to them. But impeaching a deputy president is so important, they have to remember to be meticulous every step of the way. It just goes to tell you that politicians are only careful and interested in what touches them. And what does not touch them, they are not interested in. And I'm hoping and praying for Koibori, wherever you are, George Koibori, please come and do that for us. Just tell us how much was spent. He has a way of remembering. When he goes to church, the Holy Spirit touches him. And he tells us how much changed hands. So if for the finance bill it was 2 million, I'm thinking this must be a higher pack. He needs to tell us how much money changed hands.
But you know, I was watching the whole process yesterday during the day, and I'm like, do you feel the grounds for which Rigathi was being impeached were valid?
Allow me to speak as a lawyer. You see, one of the first things that happens in this world is, for example, if I came here in this room and said, Miss Mwangi, you've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, you've even shaved your hair, which is against our tradition. And then based on that, people make a judgment. These allegations against Rigathi did not go through what I would call a formal process. For example, if somebody says you've stolen public money, EACC needs to investigate. The Ethics and the Anti-Corruption Commission, the DCI needs to investigate whether you've stolen public money. It goes, and then the courts, something that is established by our law needs to ascertain. Otherwise, what will happen? All I need to do is to come tomorrow and say I have allegations against the Speaker of the National Assembly. He stole my chicken, and that is against public morals and public ethics. And then that statement of mine, that the Speaker of the National Assembly stole my chicken, is not verified by any other person apart from the 281 people who vote against the Speaker and say, based on what Fanya Mambo said, and based on your defense that you have said you didn't steal chicken, we have still decided you need to go home. So the reason we have Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the reason we have the DCI, the reason we have the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the reason we have trained prosecutors, the reason we have a whole court justice system is so that whatever allegations are said, they are seen to sift through or to go through a system of justice that has been established, an office of trained personnel, for example, in investigation. So they can come and say, this bank statement, for example, is fake or is real. So what has happened to the deputy president is that he has been impeached based on the strength of the words of the mover of the motion.
Did the mover even have strong words?
Well, the words were written, he lacked the charisma to bring it strongly, but the words were written that were very strong. So that is the unfortunate thing for him. But as it stands by law, he's been impeached. Because by law, only thing we look at is was procedure followed.
That's true. But I want to know, what do you think of the person that is Rigathi if 281 people or MPs voted against him? Like these are people he campaigned for. Even when he went to present himself, he was speaking and telling Gladys both the way he appreciates and loved, the way Maito of Nyandarua, these are people he campaigned with. What has happened in 2 years that these people want to hear none of those things from him?
With Kenyans, it's not about what you do for them or not do for them. I mean, we had Kanini Kega, who was literally helped from nowhere. I mean, he had just lost his seat. Jubilee had mercy on him. They picked him. They sent him to wherever they sent him. And look at how he pays them back. He splits the party right through the middle. He speaks evil of Jubilee. He comes and says, vile walijaribu kupandisha baba mlima. Kenyans are only loyal to their own selfish interests. Let nobody lie to you. And I have told people, one of the surest way to die of depression is to count on a Kenyan, is to count on somebody and say, with this one we shall go, we shall work together. I mean, the late Stanley Jindo Matiba Kenneth had a very good campaign, and he used to work with the late Martin Shikuku. But most of the times, whatever they discussed with Martin Shikuku, the following morning was already in State House. He had a very difficult time. So the problem is that some of us tend to think that everybody you are with in the same camp is thinking the same as you know. Some of you are like, I'm going to use you, knowing very well, and then I'm going to dump you, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. So he should have trusted less, and he should have known that these are politicians and this is a political process.
But what does this whole impeach? I mean, it's the first time we're having a DP impeached with the new constitution in Kenya. What does this mean for Kenya's democracy, considering politics were part of this, ideally?
My biggest worry is what this impeachment has done to the person of the President William Ruto. Because the person of the President William Ruto has now been able to show us that right from his most immediate, second most powerful person, he has power over everybody in this country. And he can exercise it over everybody in this country. It has boosted his ego. It has boosted his morale. He now knows he controls parliament. And he now knows that nobody is too big for him in this country. If he can get rid of the second in command within such a short time, and within such record timelines, if he can convince parliament to sit way into the night to impeach his own deputy, then he's trying to show you as president now, I have autocratic power and there is nobody in this country who is beyond me, including that constitution of yours.
But is that news?
Well, it is news to those who believed in Kenya Kwanza and voted for Kenya Kwanza and queued and said, tunamaliza dynasty. I don't know, all sorts of foolish things they said. So to them, it's a price. I mean, they are wondering, how comes? Is this the president we wanted? Is this the person we were saying, ni mtu ya kanisa ameokoka? He used to come to Mount Kenya and say, Mwathani agosho, and all sorts of things. Now, I have not heard him say Mwathani agosho anymore. He used to carry the newest Bible when he was coming to Mount Kenya. Nowadays, I think he even forgets it. So anyway, that's where we are as a country.
So, and does this present any danger to the country? Because I keep seeing people talking online that if he can mobilize all those MPs to impeach a deputy, and in the recent past, we've had an a senator who had a motion on extending the term limits to 7 years. What's the risk? To
start with, that senator should be ashamed of himself. because those are his funny ideas.
You think they are just
the
his?
2010 Constitution is a product of blood, sweat, and tears. And it had involved a lot of consultation. A lot of work was done at Bomas 1, 2, 3. You know, it has gone through a very involving process for all Wananchi for it to get to where it was. So for some guy to think that just because you are elected and you are in Senate, you can wake up and propose such a serious constitutional amendment, you should be ashamed of yourself. And anybody who has allowed themselves to think that way should be thoroughly ashamed of themselves. I keep telling people, the late Mandela, may he rest in peace, would have ruled South Africa for life if he wanted. But he just said, I'm sorry, I'm only going to do 1 4-year term. And South Africans wondered, what is wrong with this guy? I mean, he's suffered for 27 years. He has sacrificed for the sake of South Africa. And now we have someone here saying that the president of the Republic of Kenya should go for 7 years. People who've been greater and who've done more and who sacrificed more are okay with 1 4-year term. So let us cut down on this greed to stay on power.
But with your quality, or with our quality as Kenyan of MPs, should we be ignorant and assume that it's not a possibility? Like if that motion comes.
A good thing with that proposal is that in Parliament is not enough. It changes the structure of the Constitution. It affects the executive office. It affects many things.
To a referendum.
So it has to go through a referendum.
And by that, we have the power to say yes or no.
Yes.
Wow. Considering the kind of, because I was watching the public participations that were going on and noting that this time it happened, is there a precedence that now, if for instance is a new, let's say a different chief coming up, shall we then be subjected to public participation, or how do we navigate that if a chief comes and there is no public participation?
First, I thank God because Chief First was declared unconstitutional because there was no public participation, amongst other reasons.
But
they are forcing it
operating
down against a court order. That is Kenya Kwanza for you, and it's very annoying. But if they do public participation, it is not the kind of public participation we saw. I want to single out what happened in Bomas of Kenya. And I want to start by condemning those people who organized for the beating up of Morara Kebaso and a few other young people for voicing their concerns. Shame on you, shame on you. And from the elected members of parliament who were caught on camera saying that so-and-so should be beaten, encouraging the beating of young people, those people, shame on you. And your constituents, whoever you are, wherever you are, please remember what your member of National Assembly did to a young person. And we want you to refuse to vote them back in 2027, because those are bad people. Why am I saying that? It's because public participation is not the forum where you bring people and herd them like goats and tell them, we want you to say DP must go. So when somebody comes and says, I have a different opinion, and he says, because this is the only opportunity that Kenyans, you see, like I am lucky to have this media presence. Many Kenyans don't have that opportunity. So the only opportunity he has is to come at the chief's office or the constituency office or wherever that thing has been organized, Bomas of Kenya, and say, my opinion is that the president must go as well. Why do you want to beat up someone for voicing their opinion and you called them to voice their opinion? Another one comes and says, kufa dereva, kufa makanga, kufa mechanic, kufa sijui kamagera na shuherera, all of them. And then you have a problem with them saying that. Then why did you call for public participation? If you think that your ideas are right, then don't consult anybody. But if you want to hear what other people genuinely say, I want to say, allow people to come to Bomas of Kenya, allow them to vent, allow them to say what they want, and then air it out there and say, 2 people said this, 5 people said this, 7 people said this. But you cannot be in the business of bludgeoning the people who are not going to say what you want them to say, and you call that public participation. It's an insult to the process.
My question is, though, do you think now that they opened that window for public participation, then people are going to be pushing it for different things moving forward?
You see, It should not be people pushing it. It is anybody bringing an agenda that is going to affect the people of Kenya who should provide for public participation for that agenda.
But it's not been done before.
The reason why Kenyans are not pushing as much, and let's not blame them, because sometimes we tend to put them. This government is so horrible. It is doing so many bad things that if Kenyans, unakuja kuongea mambo ya SHIF, before you can finish a deliberation on SHIF, you hear the airport is going. Then you hear there is SHA. Then you have to start thinking, what is this SHA? Is it Shakahola? Is it short form for what? What is it? And then before you even finish that, then you hear they're impeaching the deputy president, and there's public participation in that. And you remember you're still working, you have children to raise, you have a life to live. Some people are students. By the time you're coming to worry about the DP's Nini, then you hear there's another scandal somewhere else. So Kenyans are overwhelmed. They don't know what to react to and what not to react to. I think for any person who wants to bring something that involves public money, public lives, and so on and so forth, you must be considerate enough to create an opportunity for people to come and air their views on it.
And this specifically goes to Parliament because it's the role of Parliament. If someone is bringing a motion, to do it. What can Kenyans do if, for instance, they want to pass something else without public participation? Like, what role are we supposed to play?
First and foremost, the biggest role we can play is to remove this government from power through the ballot immediately.
And that's 2027.
Because if you did that, then you don't have to worry about SHIF, then SHA, the university funding model, then high school capitation. Then when you're done worrying with that, you hear they're impeaching a deputy president.
So are we
then
doomed
there is
for the
housing
next 3
levy,
years?
which we forgot. And you see, what this government has done, it has moved our focus as Kenyans from the things that we love the most. Let me tell you what a Kenyan wants. A Kenyan wants to have a decent job. This is the bulk of Kenyans. He wants to have his wife and child or children. He wants to be able to buy the daughter a white dress if she wants a white dress. And if the son asks for a bow tie, he wants to be able to buy a bow tie. He wants to be able to take them out on Sunday to have fun. Then he wants to come back home and have a cup of tea and stay with his family. That is what most Kenyans want. But what this government has done, it has moved us now to constitutional law experts. Everybody in this country can cite for you Article 1 of the Constitution. They know about public participation. When you have a horrible government in place, people become even philosophers. They become constitutional law experts. They become human rights defenders. They have another business of going to remove people from police cells. They have now acquired a new skill of making small posters online, free Morara Kebaso, free Gabriel Oguda, free so and so. I mean, when you have a bad government, the focus changes. Right now, most Kenyans would have wanted a very beautiful Sunday. Like you go to church with your family, then you take your children to swim. Most Kenyans, that's the kind of life they want. Then they want to go back home and sit with the family. They want to be able to afford medical care. They want to be able, Kenyans are known, they want to go, Christmas, they want to go and see their parents. Ishagi, Muranga, Vika, Wapi. But now that has been changed. We have a government that has made the lives of Kenyans so horrible that they are now beginning to focus on things they never wanted to focus on. So I keep saying, we do not need to worry about all these things. We need to fix governance. We need to get the right government in place. Then Kenyans will go back to their life they wanted. They want to wake up and say, now I'm upgrading my car after 2 years. Those are the things that make these people happy. But I can tell you very many Kenyans did not care for politics. They were not interested. They don't want. They want just to tell you, I have grown. Our company is growing. It's increasing employees. We are now doing Tanzania, Uganda. The company is growing. These are the conversations that Kenyans would rather have. But when you have a bad government, then you start talking about, so how long is it going to stay in Senate? Then after Senate, now you start learning constitutional law, which was not one of, you're an engineer. Someone is an architect. Another one just wanted to know how to make braids. Why have you turned a person who makes braids? And it's a good profession. She's happy. She's content with making women's braids and going home with an income. Now you've turned that person into a philosopher who speaks constitutional law. That is when you have bad governance.
Kenyans, I'm happy you've all become active citizens because where we are, if we do not become active, then we will not have a country, which is sad to say. But I would want to say why do you suspect that the president has been quiet for the last, I think, 2 weeks since he came back from which event? I think he was
goes for many.
The last event he went out, Unga.
We forgot.
Since
we
Unga happened.
Forgot. Kenyans don't want. They are sad that he's traveling.
Since the jet globetrotting president came back, he's been quiet. What could be happening? He's not even spoken about the whole impeachment. He's not even been seen as much.
He speaks the loudest when he's quiet.
So what is he speaking now?
He's saying, this impeachment has my blessings.
Well, Rigathi said it openly yesterday.
It has his blessings. Let me tell you, it would not happen if it didn't have his blessings. Why would I have a deputy president being fought and impeached in parliament and I have said nothing about it?
What do you think happened between the two?
It's like, I mean, and I hate this comparison, but if I have a wife and people come and start fighting my wife, and I'm like, I lock myself in the house and say, si wanapigania kwa parking. Then when she gets angry and leaves or goes, then I come and say, okay, let me replace my wife. The president is speaking very loudly. He's saying, this thing has my blessings. And I'm sure he's getting briefs every day. In fact, when it happened, I'm sure they called in. They were like, I know Kimani Ichung'wah is leader of majority. I have delivered. Boss, it's done. Then he was told, usiku hakuna kulala. Peleka Senate. Yeah. So they woke up the Speaker of the Senate. In fact, I think
you think Kingi was asleep.
I think Kingi was sitting in his car, probably just outside Parliament, waiting for the documents.
But Kingi, we were told Kingi just negotiated for himself, not the coast region.
That's why I told you, politicians is just about themselves.
But what do you think happened between the two? This is, of course, we only suspect. We cannot.
Between who? President Ruto and Rigathi?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's very simple. When President Ruto was deputy president and Rigathi was a member of parliament, yes, they were campaigning together looking for the seat. So Rigathi used to observe what President Ruto was doing to President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, step by step. He used to listen to the tone that President Ruto used to address President Kenyatta with when he was saying, usiue watoto wangu, and so many other things he said very passionately. Wewe Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, tunakupatia warning. So Rigathi followed, and he was looking at Deputy President William Ruto and how Deputy President was carrying himself, how he was addressing the president, how he was ignoring direct orders from the president, stop early campaigns. Rigathi was observing. And then maybe he thought, oh, this is what it means to be a deputy. So he becomes Ruto's deputy, and Ruto becomes president. Then he starts implementing the lessons he learned from his boss. And then his boss is surprised and wondering, why is this guy behaving like this? President William Ruto, Rigathi is only doing to you what you did to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And he's only a student of yourself. He was taking notes from you. And you are working together when you are DP. And when bad things were being said, in fact, when Rigathi Gachagua was saying some very regrettable words on a Land Cruiser in Mount Kenya, when he was telling Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta he has only 8 days, where was Deputy President William Ruto? He was right there. So Rigathi has done nothing wrong. He has done nothing out of the ordinary. He's only photocopied what the boss used to do, and now he's implementing it on the boss, and the boss is not liking it.
And you know, the most interesting thing is he said the same words in parliament that he learned from his boss. And what I found funny were the videos, like he came to defend himself in parliament with video evidence of the things that his boss had spoken. And one of the videos that stood out for me was when now current president was in campaigning somewhere on a podium and accusing the former Kibochi, what is it called?
Kibicho.
Yeah, not there was Kibochi and Kibicho.
Okay.
So he was accusing them of misusing their positions, yes, to punish them. And now it's what we saw with Rigathi talking about NIS not being truthful or not giving the president the situation as is. And still in parliament, he said the same thing. Do you think we have an issue with NIS? Or was the deputy president just throwing words for no reason.
The Swahili have a saying, lisemwalo lipo. I think we have a huge issue with NIS. I'll tell you why. When the demonstrations that people love to call Gen Z demonstrations were taking place, one Isaac Mwaura, who is the government spokesman, from, I think, the comfort of his bedroom, I don't know why he did that,
The sun was bad outside.
Came and addressed the nation and said that the Russians are supporting that maandamano. It wouldn't be long before we had the head of state speak of Ford Foundation. It wouldn't be long before we had Kimani Ichung'wah and others say Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. At the end of that Gen Z maandamano, the conclusion was that all the people who had been accused of funding maandamano are not the ones. Then who are the ones? Nobody knows. At some point, I think Embakasi North MP James Gakuya was also accused of the same when his phones were taken away. And I think Major Dong. Why I'm mentioning names is because then people get to relate closer with. So now NIS is being asked. So because there was the Russian story, is it still true? They are mute. There was Ford Foundation. Tell us now with finality. Were they involved? There was, so when you have an NIS that gives that kind of information, I am not an intelligence expert, but there's one thing I know. If there has been a friend coming to your house to see your wife when you're working away in Nairobi, if there is intelligence coming along, every person who describes will say he's a tall guy or he's a short guy or he's a dark guy. But when you hear a conversation around people saying it's one guy and everybody saying he's short, another one saying he limps, another one saying he has a deep voice, another one, but they're all describing the same man, then that's not intelligence. That is foolishness. Intelligence has a way in which it appears to be straightforward. So I think there's a problem and it was exposed very well. You know, then they started abducting Gen Zs left, right, center, then wanaachiliwa, wengine wanadisappear, wengine wanakufa. But when you think about it, up to date, they've never told us who financed those maandamanos, if they were ever financed. So there could be a huge problem at NIS.
Wow. And the next phase where Rigathi is supposed to fight for his life is in the Senate. Yesterday evening, one of the senators, Senator Ledama Olekina, I actually screenshot a tweet before he deleted, but he said, "We are reliable, William Ruto. We always deliver." And then he deleted the post, but people had screenshot it.
Yeah, we always.
What do you make up?
You know, Olekina is an interesting senator, and you've seen he plays a very interesting role in every impeachment.
He was also in New York the other day with the president.
Yes, and governors are very careful with Olekina because they know he's one person who can take them home in one way or another. I think. I told the DP his die is cast. I don't know why he doesn't see that these people are going to impeach him. I don't know whether he's waiting until senators again go and get more than 2/3 of the required. I think 45. He'll probably get even 55 or 40. Probably 5 or 6 senators will stand with him.
Not even 10.
No, I think he needs to see that this is a decision that was made. And it's a decision that has been... You saw what Kawanjiko, the MP, said when he said that they have the president and they have the money and they can impeach and not even God can stop this impeachment. What they are trying to say in very uncertain words is that they are taking him home. And he needs to see the signs. I don't know what he's waiting to see.
Why do you think a senator would be that confident to type such a thing when we expect the Senate to be a house of,
Because we are waiting
order
for Koimburi to tell us how the budget looks like. There are many motivating factors. So if that was one of them, then it must have been a good one.
Wow.
Yes.
And so, Mulima imeguzwa.
Imetingizwa.
Do we have Mulima anymore?
Yes,
what happens?
You see, the Swahili have a saying, nitampiga mchungaji wa kondoo, na kondoo wa kundi lake watatawanyika. The idea was to scuttle the leaders of Mount Kenya, starting with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And I thank God for his wisdom, because in his wisdom, he never let go of the leadership of Mount Kenya. Up to date, he's never bequeathed somebody that leadership. That mantle has never been given. Shikilia tu Uhuru, labda ni yangu. So he's never bequeathed it unto anybody. And
but do you think he's still holding it?
Let me tell you, if Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta today asked for a meeting and said, tukutane Kasarani, I think by 6 a.m. the stadium would be full. People are thirsty for him. People are yearning for him. People are even making rumors about his health. People are saying also because they want to hear him speak.
And why is he choosing to be? Why are you choosing to be quiet?
Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, continue being quiet. You see, he spoke to people and told them about what a Ruto presidency would mean. They never listened. In fact, they insulted him. They even sang dages for him. In Kikuyu, they are saying, let him go and rest. Now, if he comes right now and speaks, they will say he's the one who's destabilizing government. So he would rather, out of Kenyans' own volition, they decide that they don't like this government. Let them go out there and so that it becomes very clear that even in his silence, Kenyans are fighting, Kenyans are unhappy, Kenyans are disillusioned. Let that come out clearly. Then now he can come and ask them, ati mumesema nini? They will be like, oh, we are tired. Then he will tell them, and what do you want? This is what we want. And he will tell them, if that's what you said you're tired, yes. You said this is what you want, yes. How can I help? Boom. So you have to let Kenyans get to a place where first they started by denying that this president is not bad. Then they started saying, tulidanganywa, you are lied to, you are deceived. And then they go to a place, they said, I think it was our mistake, we are wrong.
So
then they started
now?
saying, we are sorry. Yeah. Then it will get from now, we are sorry, to start saying what we want. You watch. The next step, they'll be saying, this is, because right now people are ranting and saying, Ruto must go. Very soon a new chant will come. And it will be in the line of what they want. It's a series. It's a step of what human beings go through before they eventually find a solution.
But the mountain, what happens? Is the mountain flattened now?
Happens. Number one.
In fact, is there even a kingpin per se?
With or without, the number of votes that Mount Kenya has, you don't need to go through a kingpin. These people will decide the next election based first on emotions. And one of the things that the mountain will do in 2027 is they will not go to vote for. They will go to vote out. So that whatever, even if Wajakoya buys against Ruto and he's the only candidate, they will vote for Wajakoya.
But now, is it that the stupid mistake we always make?
Well,
as Kenyans generally.
Okay, as Kenyans we make that mistake. But I don't think there can come a government that would be worse than this. You cannot conceive, you cannot even begin to conceptualize the kind of evils that this government has done. So there are not more Kenyans left in this country who would come up with such bad ideas. So from anything else we vote for, we'll still have better ideas and more humanity than this administration. So whoever vies against this administration, even if he's alone, and I pray God that Fanya Mambo will be the one on that ballot, Kenyans will make him president.
And now that you're saying the die is cast, who's the next probable DP?
Interesting. I think I have had very many names being floated around. Initially, they started with Kindiri, Kithiki, Kindure, then they went through. Until yesterday, when I met people who strongly believe that William Kabogo will be the next deputy president.
No way.
Then I asked them, where did you get the name William Kabogo? They said Kiambu alone has 2 million votes. And William Kabogo has been governor. If he's appointed, it would create an excitement.
But the same also, governor was pushed away and Waititu appointed in his place.
Those are Kenyans for you. So I'm just saying the names that have been floated very strongly, Kabogo's name has come out very strongly. Who's his name? I have heard of Kindiki once in a while. They have memes they make of him. They have names they call him. Not for this session. But I think the names I've heard more strongly than those are all from Mount Kenya, by the way.
Okay, if you're in William's shoe, the president today, what would be your consideration for this person? Because those are names people are fronting, yes.
Number one, I would never impeach my DP, so I would not be
No, it has happened. Now we are speaking on yes. Or what do you think he's considering?
No, he's already, actually, I know he has a name.
Yes, but what do you think he
of course, he's considering 2027 re-election and who can bring in votes. But, I mean, throw a spanner in the works, appoint Kalonzo Musyoka. I would do that. I would do that because he already has Raila Amolo Odinga. Bringing Kalonzo means you have Azimio, as it were.
You think Kalonzo would want to be DP again? Okay, he's been vice.
No. I don't think he would say no.
Can I throw a spanner in the works? Yeah. That people are saying why a lot of ODM MPs were very happy to impeach Rigathi, and even senators want him to go, is because ODM has seen way further. So the argument is Raila Odinga loses his African Union bid. Of course, with that means he just has to come back to local politics, because Raila is not a man who can just retire without, Yeah. And so he comes back, and when he's back, one President Ruto decides, you know what? Raila Odinga gets in, mobilizes his team, impeaches the president. By then we have an IBC.
I'll tell you this.
Do you think my psycho can?
First, Raila Amolo Odinga would not accept to deputize William Ruto.
Why?
Because he wouldn't.
What if he's looking at impeaching and...
He would feel that he cannot be subservient. Secondly, William Samoei Ruto would never appoint Raila Amolo Odinga as deputy. If you've seen how deputy presidents behave, when the president arrives, this is the guy receiving the president. I don't know.
Hasn't he been doing that already?
He's been doing it. He's been doing it. Come to think of it. I haven't thought about it that way. But I don't think so. I don't think he would appoint Raila Amolo Odinga. This is a person who becomes a heartbeat away from the presidency.
Exactly. But that's why I've told you he will come and mobilize his MPs.
That would be an interesting one.
And they impeach the president. That would be an
interesting one. But you don't get such a charismatic guy and make him your deputy president. I mean, I keep asking people, even in this room, what's the name of the deputy president of Tanzania?
Nobody knows. Nobody cares.
What's the name of the deputy president of Rwanda and Uganda? Why is ours known the whole world? All our deputies are known the whole world all the time. So, hakuna siasa ngumu kama ya Kenya. All our deputies are known the whole world. Today, nobody even knows the deputy president of Uganda.
But what do you think happens if Raila Odinga loses his AUC? Because I don't see him coming home to retire.
Divorce. And then such an upheaval. And that's why William Samoei Ruto took advantage of this time to get rid of deputy president, because he knew when these people come back, there will be a huge divorce. They will be messy. It will be tough. ODM and UDA are not going to divorce in a very simple way. It's going to be a very messy divorce. Next year.
You put next year, your prediction?
There will be a huge divorce.
Wow.
It will be attended more than a wedding.
Interesting. And as we come to a conclusion, what next for Rigiji?
If he had resigned, he would not have been impeached, which means he can hold public office. If he ends up being impeached by Senate, then it means he cannot hold public office. So he'll become a bitter campaigner, all over campaigning for other people, but he cannot be voted for.
If he resigns?
It saves him.
No, what are the possibilities next for him?
You see, if they resign, even the Senate proceedings will come to an end.
Yes.
So it means he'll never be...
I'm asking politically.
He'll make a very good leader of official opposition. Because first, he doesn't fear the president, and two, he's very abrasive. And very... I'd say his politics will scratch you somehow. You don't come to contact with his politics without feeling, wow, there's a laceration. So he would make a very good leader of official opposition. In 2027...
You think he would be on the ballot or...
You see, right now, this thing has earned him a lot of sympathy. Again, now, my mountain people, Jesus Christ. You have a way of sympathizing with people, and sometimes you vote out of emotions. If an election was held today and Rigiji offered himself, he would get so many votes. Why? Because people have a way of sympathizing with people. So right now, he has a lot of sympathy for votes. What he does with them is up to him.
So you don't think he would run for president if he resigns, that is?
He could run for president. He may not stand a winning chance, but he could run for president. But remember, he's coming from a community called Gema. And Gema, just by their sheer numbers, they usually say Gema plus 1 equals president. So that if they got Gema plus the Kamba vote, they would make president. Gema plus Kalenjin, it would be president. Gema plus Luo. So if he went to Kalonzo Musyoka, and one thing I usually tell people forget that Kalonzo Musyoka always delivers. He brings he's one politician who brings you his basket intact. He delivers. So if Kalonzo Musyoka was running for president today, and he had Rigiji, it would be Gema plus 1. They would get the 50% plus 1. And then Rigiji would be a deputy again.
Again. Yeah. The cursed seat of Kenya, of the DP, because it seems it keeps coming. Anyway, that's been very interesting to see what's happening, and we can only look forward and see what happens next. And predictions, the die is cast. That's for sure. But the courts might save him, right?
You see, again, the courts usually look at form, procedure. Did they... For example, what happened, having him at parliament was not really constitutional.
Yes.
In fact, the constitution does not require that the DP presents himself before parliament. It requires that he presents himself at Senate. But this was because they were being meticulous. They were being, it's called for the abundance of caution, so that he doesn't go to court and says he was never heard. They allowed him to even come to the National Assembly. So this National Assembly, where he was not supposed to constitutionally to have spoken, but, well, then he goes to Senate and tries to defend himself. He's in a difficult place.
But do you think the courts, okay.
Because what the courts will do, they will listen to the case. And what they will try to check is if there is a legal procedure that was skipped, for example. Did they meet 281? Yes. Did they debate? Yes. Was he given a chance? Yes. Was there public participation? Yes. They are looking more at the procedure. Was he heard? Was the law followed? Yes. You cannot stop Parliament from doing what they were meant to do.
My concern is, if by chance the courts save him, then how do you work with the president moving forward? Assuming the courts save him.
It's an issue of morals. You wouldn't impeach me and then I force myself at I still want to work with you. Why? Go.
No.
This city is not heaven. But
in that case,
in the event that the courts saved him, I think he would still have a very horrible stint as the DP. Because you have a president who doesn't want you, and then you have 281 members of parliament that you know by face and name voted against you, and you even saw them prosecuting your case on the floor of the House. How would you continue to operate in that office? How will you even work? Everybody will be your enemy. You'll be in a very difficult position. And then the president is supposed to assign you duties. He has tried impeaching you, which means he will not assign you any duty. So what will you be doing in the current House?
Campaigning like the former DP did, maybe, I don't know. And also, let me just ask one. We can combine as we wrap up. Mashujaa Day is coming. It's a day we expect the president and the DP to be in that event. That's in 10 days, and 10 days is what it takes for Senate to impeach. So either way, he might have gone to court. How do you think that day will...
The law says within
10 days. So it can be earlier.
These guys can do it even
a day or two.
But
if he goes to courts and gets, what are they called?
An order.
Yes. Like the way we have in Meru. So Mashujaa Day.
You can't stop. I don't think the courts can give an order stopping Senate from doing its work.
No, not stopping Senate.
Yeah.
Like Senate goes and says, go home, we have impeached you.
So
then the DP goes to courts
and
to get
a stay order.
Yes, stay
of that. And then he continues to operate using a court order.
Yeah, like the way Kawara Mwangaza is doing.
I'll say this. You see, none of us lawyers has an absolute, complete and total monopoly of understanding of the law. I dare submit that judges have a deeper understanding of it because they interact with it every minute. Even right now when I'm on TV, they are interacting with the law. He might introduce to us, because of his interaction with the law very closely and intimately and for a very long time, judges might introduce to us something that we are yet to see right now. And I would love to see that ground. I would love to study it. It would form a constitutional jurisprudence. And it would help us. I mean, if there is something that works within the ambits of the 2010 Constitution, something that strengthens it, something that gives it the oomph that makes it that vibrant constitution, we are more than happy to embrace it. So if he's kept by a court order, fine.
We will have to stay. How do you think they'll behave on Mashujaa Day?
They don't
Your
have
expectations.
To behave. They can misbehave. I have always told you I don't like this administration.
So you don't
care. And even if they failed, fine. As long as the country doesn't fail, them failing. And people sometimes forget, it is possible for you to hate the leadership you have, but continue loving your country. I love Kenya so much, but I don't like the leadership in the place. And so when I say let them fight, I mean, like now I'm happy that they are fighting, because when they are not fighting, they are planning Shiv Shah, Adani,
I think most Kenyans are happy.
Yeah, they are planning other horrible things. So when they are fighting, they don't have time to plan bad deals for the country. So let them fight. We wish them well. And I've always said, I think every Kenyan should just buy glucose and energy drink. Mukiona kama wanahema, munamtafuta Rigiji, the president, munampatia energy drink, munampatia glucose, so that they have the strength to continue fighting one another. As long as they are fighting, for us, they are not making bad deals. Because a good government, when it's not fighting, is delivering on health, on education, on so many things. But when a bad government is not fighting, they are delivering on horrible deals.
Sadly. And none of them indulges in alcohol, so their fighting has to be via tea, water, porridge, anything. Anyway, closing remarks that you feel you can give to Kenyans?
I thank the famous and makers of our 2010 Constitution. Kenya is becoming a case study for the whole world. I mean, there is no vibrant democracy in Africa, I dare say, like the Kenyan democracy. I'm sure countries like Rwanda are looking at us and saying, wait a minute, Uganda, Tanzania, everybody.
These real humans.
It's such a huge, and we are seeing the events in West Africa where coups are the order of the day. And people are looking at Kenya and saying, a judge can nullify a presidential election. A DP can be impeached through. So Kenyans, I think we are the pearl of the world. We are the pearl of Africa. We are the top there in terms of how vibrant our politics and how vibrant our democracy is. We are not doing good in terms of leadership and governance, but we have become a case study that constitutional systems can work in Kenya. They can work in Africa. And our constitution is being tested every day, and it is being improved. I think we have a very progressive constitution. Let us never lose on its gains.
Great. That's a nice place to end it. Thank you so much, Fanya Mambo. And thank you to our viewer who's been with us. Remember to subscribe. By the way, we are on a new channel, Mwangi 411. Do subscribe and, of course, catch up with us every week as we discuss matters, politics, Kenyan, African, and so many other things that affect us. And for Kenyans, stay strong, hold on tight. Thank God we have a constitution, and to lawyers, judges, and everyone who keeps pushing and improving on our jurisprudence. Thank you so much. So catch you on the next episode. Thank you.